Oh my fucking god, dude. So I sat here for probably 40 fucking minutes making a video only to realize that it had stopped recording like 10 fucking minutes in. Because right before I was about to hit the stop button, that's when I noticed it was on like the button like you'd have to press to start recording. I'm like, what the fuck? And I go and check and sure. So what happened was it had been recording to the internal and it filled up and did not say fucking anything. This is just another thing that perfectly proves my motherfucking point. So I'll sit here for another motherfucking 40 minutes and do this shit. This is another part of the censorship. Okay. And this is another way where everything is always configured to be an insult to me. Because now I find the option in this fucking camera for the storage. Why wasn't it where I fucking looked before? How come now I can choose to record to the SD card that had gigs and gigs of space free and it could have just recorded there the whole fucking time? Shit like this is why I don't give a fuck about mass shootings. All right. I'm just being real. All right. And it's the 23rd, and I'm going to have a fucking video on ER. So now I'm turning the fucking fan back off because I don't want to make it a bunch of fucking noise. All right. I'm going to turn a couple of these lights off. Right. So I'm never going to remember the shit I said. I'm never going to remember the order I said it and the way I said it, but that's how it always is, okay? My best video, it's going to be some shit like that every time. Again, why was that setting to click to choose the storage not there before? You think they don't write these apps this way on purpose? Okay. Now, we'll get black pill for a second because I'm about to. That whole video was pretty much a response to somebody who commented on the ATL meetup. It was like, hey, I'm here if you wanted to meet. I'm open to that. He said he's from Maryland, though. I want to get back into that. But he's a black pillar, so he's been watching me for a while from what he said. So we're going to get it. We're going to get black pill for a second, just like these fucking dating apps. And like my point's been for the last 4 years, it's no different for gay dudes. It is to a small degree, but that gap's closed, and it very rapidly closing, almost closed. And this is what I mean. You don't think they have the software written on these phones? It's recording everything you do, right? They don't have to collect the data. They got software that analyzes voices and this and that. And they know your behavior from your clicks and everything else. You don't think it could have done that? Just been written that way? Only show the storage option when the internal's full. It could be that simple. And it doesn't have to be a direct attack on me. It's set up that way, though, to fuck with people and have plausible deniability. That's the point. And it doesn't matter what the intent is. The matter is how it fucking affects me. Well, these dating apps, and I've noticed this, even on these gay ones, okay? Now, on Tinder, everybody's known forever that most men don't get shown any women, to any women in the first place. Because it analyzes your pictures. It can compare, it can do principal component analysis and compare attractive pictures to unattractive pictures, and it can do that shit. Dude, one of my phones I used to have, and I got a screenshot of it. It's got different pictures, like in the gallery, it had like at the top, different groups of pictures that were labeled happy, sad, like whatever. So it's doing that all the time. Okay. And that's how they do it, right? So, the loser guys who desperately want a girlfriend don't even show them to the women and to, frustration mechanism to get you to pay for it to actually be seen in the first place. And they know your bitch ass is still going to get fucking swiped left on. Right. And they see it that way on a, you know, um, societal level, right? Right, just like Baraka talking about going to get his haircut, trying to talk to other men about his problems, and they're sitting there calling him a bitch and all. Like that's the way they're thinking about it. The loser nerd who wrote those programs. He's like, well, I wanna make it so other guys can't get pussy either. And yeah, people are that petty. They're Patrick Bateman in just a different way. Okay. So they see you as the bitch ass, whatever. You insert whatever adjective you want there, right? Whether it's true or not, that's how they see you. And they don't want you to have anything, right? Well, I've noticed this on these fucking dating apps. Scruff, particularly. Scruff is a gay app for guys that look like me, okay? The way I look, that's considered scruff, right? Hairy, whatever. But it's not just dudes that look like me on there. There's also what's called chasers, where it's guys that don't look like that, but they like guys that look like that. That's what they like, right? Now, chasers are what I like, the smooth ones, this and that. I'm looking for a guy that's looking for a guy like me. I'm not looking for a guy like me because I'm not into that. I don't want more of this. I like how I look. I don't have a problem with my body or anything else. It's just I don't find myself sexually attractive to myself if I were another person. But the point I'm getting to, and then now I'm going to get back into what I was saying originally, is that I've noticed over time when scruff, I see almost no chasers anymore. Every time I look at the grid, it's just all hairy dudes. And so it actually tracks, and you can look at this information through your profile. The tribes, they call it, like what type of dude, it's like if you're a bear like me or if you're a twink, those are different tribes. It'll show a break. It's got a fucking pie chart. Guys you talk to that were this type, right? Or that type. And, and it just shows everything. So they already know. You don't think they could have something in there? Oh, he likes this or that. Don't show it to them. Just like they do on Tinder. You don't think they could do that? So they absolutely, just like iPhones, they put an update in there one time to slow people's iPhones down to make them run slower, try to get them to buy the newer one. Of course, they didn't get in trouble because billionaire corporations never do. And to cover this real quick, if you see this like glare, the lights over here, this screen, actually I can see part of the crack is right through the middle where the camera lens is. So it's got a glare off it. So if you see that, that's what it is. As usual, the worst people in life, they're the ones with everything, and that was part of the point I was making. Again, I'm going to get to. So now to the actual video, and if you can't stand, I'm not saying this to the guy that I'm kind of making this video because of. I'm just saying people generally. This has been an issue for a long time. If you can't stand, me making a 40-minute, hour-long, 2-hour-long video, whatever, tough shit then. If I want to make one, I will. Sometimes I get frustrated with how I can never just get to a point, and I try to do it just because I want to, but other people's standards I'm not worried about. Like this guy, he'd be aware that he's been there when I've, in the past, I've made daily fucking 3.5-hour long rants. What the fuck? Oh, dude, see, I'm telling you, I thought it got me there. And this was the point I made earlier, okay? It shows a square when it's recording, like if you want to stop it. And it shows a circle when it's not recording if you want to start recording. For a second, I looked and I swore it was a circle. I was like, does this motherfucker stop recording again? But the point is, they round the corners of the square. So if you're not looking directly at it, it vaguely looks like it could be the circle or whatever, too. So that's what I thought originally. It put no warning on the screen or nothing. So, and they look similar enough to each other out of the corner of your eye that, it could change without you noticing. They do that on purpose, too. just like notifications that you get for important stuff, like apps I use to upload these, where it tells you where it saved it. That pops up for like 2 seconds, not even long enough to take the screenshot to remember it. Then it goes away. It's like, fuck, where did it put that? But yeah, this guy, he's been there when I've made 3.5 hour fucking videos, and in some cases 4.5 hour. Okay, and in late 20, end of 2020, there was a video I was going to try to make, doing like a sort of rundown autobiography, but biased more towards, at this point it'd be almost like the last 10 years of my fucking life or whatever. I recorded, in some cases, 8-hour rants. I did like 40 hours worth of videos, and was able to really talk about almost nothing because there's just so much to say. But he said anyway in that video, I made a video about, hey, I'm in ATL. If anybody is here and you would like to meet up, that I could do that. We could meet somewhere, we could talk, do a video, like whatever the fuck. If you work out too, it's like, I don't know, maybe if you're a place that has, guest passes, we could do that. Or, I know Anytime does guest passes. We could go to my gym, do something like that. I don't, whatever, I didn't come to ATL or any of these other cities looking for that expressly. I came here to revisit places I'd been before, which I'll mention that in a second in passing. But I also said I'd be open to meeting blackpillers, even ones that don't like me. Like I said, I'll meet anybody. I don't care, right? Or what I'm really looking for, because I'm still, and it's been years and years of this, trying to find some way to get to. I mean, if I had met these blackpillers back in 2019, a lot of them live here in Atlanta. I talked to a couple of them. Maybe they don't live downtown, but they live in the same area that I'm around. Maybe all that could have been over back then, right? Plus, back then I was in a different mindset. I wasn't as privy to the psychosis of the blackpillers. Some of them are decent. I don't include them when I'm saying that. But, I'm looking for somebody to help, either split a hotel with me or, something like that. Back then I would have said, try to improve each other's lives, but my life can't improve. It's just all, at this point for me, the objective is just see if I could get to a point of where I can just sort of coast into oblivion. Like if you were coasting, like in your car, you try to reduce the burden as much as possible, because there's no upside for me in life now. Life can never improve. There's just too many things that, just too much. But if there were black pillars in an area where I'd been around, and they have a similar goal, either they're trying to improve their life, or they're at the point to where they can improve their life, and it's almost like you're trying to be as comfortable in the hospital bed, while you're on life support type of shit. Just kind of, however you want to look at it. I mean, if we've been on bad terms, but you want to try to resolve our differences because you're trying to improve your life too, and you want to work towards a common goal, I'd be open to that. It's not something I expect to happen, and it's not like, oh, I came here to try to split rent with a black pillar. No, it's just, I always speak in hypotheticals. I always speak in possibilities, and that's the thing. My whole life, people tell me, "Oh, you're so negative. You just see the worst in everything." It's like, how could that be when I'm always trying to look for ways to improve the circumstances. Not even for me, but for the other person, right? But I mean, like, think about it. And there was somebody who's from Georgia, black pill. I'm not going to say who it is. Um, I mean, we're not on good terms currently, but as far as I know, he hasn't shit talked me like by name, as far as I'm aware. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I discussed that with him. Like I said, I've been here in 2019. It's not the same room, but it's the same layout, right? There's a bed. There's only one bed, but the sofa turns into a bed too. So it could have been some shit like, you could have the bed if you wanted. I'll sleep on the fucking couch, right? So really, there's technically two beds in here, so it wouldn't even be like weird shit. And quite frankly, I think that's one of the reasons that some of these black pillars I have talked to and tried to discuss this with, because we're both trying to, like get away from shit, or in our life we just want to be able to sit somewhere and relax, and ideally be around somebody who's similar minded, who at least isn't going to shit on us for admitting that we can't get laid or whatever. They don't want to do it because they got some weird vibe, like, oh, because I'm gay, they're like, I'm gonna, like, I don't know, like, try to, like, make advances on them or something, which, trust me, that would never happen, because you motherfuckers aren't lookers anyway. All right. And I'll be perfectly honest, there are some black pillars to where, like, they are visually my type. And I think, people listen to me long enough, they've heard what I'm into. They'd already have ideas, but I'm not going to say nobody. Not going to embarrass anybody, but the point is, even if that were the case, I don't perv on straight dudes. I don't try to convert straight dudes or any of this bullshit. But in my own circumstance, I understand what some of the the black pillars would talk about, where they don't like being black because they're held to the standard of the black people who are bad, and like the thugs and all that shit. And it's just unfair that it's like you're treated as if you're one of the terrible people or whatever. And that's the situation I'm in, right? Like, I'm treated like I'm one of these gay dudes, or trans people that's like trying to convert straight dudes, or perving, and I don't do that shit. I don't like that people put that shit on me. But yeah, I know that's the reason, okay? I know it's the reason. Even the ones who have, explicitly stated they don't have a problem with my, orientation, they do. Bare minimum, they have a fear of that. Like normies do to me. They're afraid of me, that I'll do things that were never even going to happen. Looks based treatment. And this is something I was actually going to make a whole video on, but never got around to. How the halo effect even affect, or the, like, the horn effect even affects people who are in that situation, to where phalo people give the same treatment to other people like that. And it's, I had a better way of saying it before, but it's basically sort of like a form of crabs in a bucket, only maybe not necessarily consciously intentional, but it still looks based treatment. But anyway, this guy said he was from Baltimore. Now, I don't know, or sorry, if I might have been saying Baltimore this whole time. Let me correct that. He said he's from Maryland. Now, I don't know if that means he's from Baltimore. I know there's at least a couple black pillars in Baltimore that don't like me, and I'd meet them too if they wanted. I said, I don't give a shit. and I don't mean like a euphemism either. If you wanted to meet me and you wanted to tell me why you think I'm a piece of shit, we could do that. We can make a video and get views on my channel. Blah 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 told me in person I'm a piece of shit. It's just all I can say is make sure to provide evidence, not just you don't like me, because you got to have a reason for that. And if it's not an objective moral basis, then it's invalid. Sorry. But also, and that would be the other case, if you did want to meet me in person, even though you're one of the ones that don't like me, or let's say I'm in your city and I'm looking for, somebody to help me out, make each other's lives easier, like we split a hotel room or something, and just try to build our money up, cooperate, pull resources to improve our lives to the point where, we could, be able to get, like a room for rent or some kind of like our own place, but at least try to, make our lives easier. Well, if you're one of the ones that, like, we've had our differences in the past and you want it to try it, you better have an apology for me, because you motherfuckers know what you got to apologize about. And that's the thing. The ones I won't talk to, they're either bigots or they lied to me. Now, they can make 40 different fucking accounts and try to post 20 paragraph comments about, well, I'm a piece of shit. The fact of the matter is, if I ain't talking to you and I've told them that, it's because you lied. So you got to apologize for that. You got to apologize for not standing up for me. You got to apologize for not calling out evil people. Like I said, I don't care if he's dead. If you like Renegade number 0, you better just be ignorant to the shit he said. That's all I can say. And if you're aware of it, you shouldn't like a person like that. That's all I can say on that. But, so this guy I'm talking to, as far as I'm aware, he's never said anything. The guy who I'm making this video because I saw his comment. Because that ATL video, I said I would make them, right? If I'm going to be in a city for a while, I'll make a video. Hey, I'm here or there. Anybody that's here, if you want to meet up, that's cool. Whatever. But I'm not like coming here for that. I'm coming here for nostalgia because I've been here before. And that would just be like something interesting that could also happen possibly. But, it's extremely tentative, I don't expect it to happen because nobody would ever fucking help me, right? Oh, let's make each other's lives easier. No. The ones that I went to cooperate with, the blackpillers, and even this one homeless dude that I'd watched, they don't want it to improve both our lives. They want me to help them and get nothing out of it. So they may as well be a gay dude. They may as well be one of these gold digging junkie prostitutes. Like, you may as well be my motherfucking first ex or my last ex or whoever else, because you're a leech. You want what they really mean is what they would prefer is I walked up to them and just handed them a wad of cash and fucked off and never, it's like these room for rents where they want to act like you're not there till the day that it's time to fucking pay rent, but the rest of the time they want to pretend you don't exist, or they want motherfuckers you see on Craigslist a lot. They want somebody that's never around. I'll need somebody that's always at work or out. It's like they literally want you to pay them for a place and never use it. But, all right, to try to get more back to my point, the guy, this guy that commented, as far as I can, I'm neutral to him for the time being, because I'm not aware of anything they've said or done or whatever wrong towards me yet. But he said he's from Maryland. He'd be interested in meeting. Probably going to be a while before I'm in Maryland, because it's most likely that I'm going to stay in, ATL. I'm going to stay in Atlanta for, if not another week, or if not another month, maybe at least another week. Um, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go from here next. What I'm thinking, my route in 2019, if I remember correctly, it started in North Carolina, and I went from Charlotte down, to here to Atlanta. And I was here for a week. I was only in Charlotte for like 2 days, and then from Charlotte I came here to Atlanta. I was here for a week. Then from there I drove through Mississippi, and when I got to Shreveport, I stayed in Bossier, Louisiana, for a couple days, and from there I went Texas and everything. I'm not going to go that far because I've already been there, but what I was thinking of is after I've been here for a little while, going back through all that stuff, retracing back to Bossier, and then coming back, and whether I do that or not, so whether I did that first or I just did what I'm about to do, or whether I did that first and then what I'm about to explain, or if I just did what I'm about to explain, just started with that. My plan was probably going to be go up north, from Atlanta up to Columbus, Ohio, because I lived there with my first ex, and I'll get into that in a second. And then from there, retrace my steps through the Northeast from 2019. So I went from Columbus up to Cleveland. So I was at the coast, and I drove from there through, like Lake Erie, because there's only like up there. There's only like this much of it that's, Pennsylvania. And then you're in upstate New York, and I drove past Rochester, past Buffalo, and then from there, it sort of comes downward, and by the time I intersect with Massachusetts, it's basically like middle of upstate. I went to the coast of Massachusetts, and then from there, I went to Hartford, Connecticut. And from Hartford, by the time I'm in Hartford, I'm only 2 or 3 hours from, New York City, the boroughs. But I didn't go there. What I did was I went, instead of going up across the coast up on the north like I did originally, this time I just cut through upstate. So when I was on the way, back, I went back to Columbus. And on the way back, it put me past, I don't know, I think like Poughkeepsie and places like that. And the route that I took went past the exit for Middletown, which is where BSM is. Now, when I was there, that was like January, February 2019. So I hadn't even heard of him yet. Right. And this will sort of drive a point home. I'll go ahead and make it while I'm thinking about it. If I retraced this route, I wouldn't stop in Middletown, most likely, unless I just had to pull off to get gas or something, because I've never been there before. And I'm not like, oh, I'm going to go to Middletown to try to find BSM and see if I could like say hey, or make a video with him or something. It's no, like, again, that's not my goal to meet people. My goal is just retrace my routes as like a nostalgia thing, and I hadn't been there before. But I wouldn't have never heard of him until maybe like October of that year, once I was living with that fat bitch in that shitty apartment she had. But I've been a lot of places, and I've been past a lot of places where blackpillers live. And it was one of those things, like, I wish I can remember being in this place. It's not the same room, but the same idea. Sitting in that bed, reading articles talking about shit testing and like all this different bullshit. Like, you could have called that, in black pill terminology, you could have called that the, like, I don't know, like the dark red pillars. Is, it's like you're starting to get to it, right? But I mean, I'd heard about red pill shit since I was like 16. Like there was a person I was talking to online. He was actually from North Carolina, but I think a different part. But we were talking, and he was just calling me a bitch, calling me a loser, all this shit. And he was showing me shit like Bill Burr, Patrice O'Neal, all this shit. Like when Opie and Anthony show was still around. So I was aware of these sort of vague red pill concepts even back then. But I was still trying to be my usual hopeless romantic type self, and not realizing really that it's because I remember like this dude, and I didn't understand at the time because I mean I was only like 16, and I didn't realize I was gay till I was probably 18 or 19. But I was abnormally close or whatever talking to him, and I mean in retrospect, I mean visually is my type. I was probably feeling feelings for him, and he was treating me like shit, like everybody else, and like especially like my exes who look, they all have that look. Everybody knows what kind of look I like, but he would say, "Oh, you're a bitch, you're a loser, you gotta." And he'd show me Opie and Anthony and like see this blah blah blah, and telling me how he's getting laid all the time and shit. But like I'd see this shit, and so I'd emulate it. Okay, I'll act like that and blah blah blah. And like when I'd say something or tell him, okay, I'll go here or there, and I'll just approach the guy and be like, hey man, you want to. Like I'll go to Hot Topic and find one of these emo guys and just be like, I really want to fuck you or whatever. Which is, I mean, that's what it's saying. Like you got to talk like that. But when I'd say I was going to do it, he'd start laughing. That was kind of a proto example of like what I mean. Where like red pill, and now apparently not the few decent ones, but the majority of the black pill. It's like it's there just to like fuck with you and like trick you into doing shit and just laugh at you. With the red pill or the black pill, it's really just to get people to talk about their life, to get ammunition to make fun of them with. Because, like I said, now all these black pillars that don't like me, shit that they didn't care about before or they understood or was even the reason they liked me, now it's like the shit they're going to use to try to smear me or like make me look like the loser, right? But Schopenhauer has a quote, something about never tell a friend something you wouldn't want an enemy to know. I understand that concept, but I'm not the one doing anything wrong. The onus ain't on me. Plus, all the shit I've talked about to hundreds of people. Real life, offline, or online, doesn't matter. But yeah, like I was reading shit like while I was laying in the bed at this place about shit tests and all this stuff, and I was in the past, and I'm going to make a video later about LA Rogers since it's the 23rd. It's ER day. Um, I remember when that shit happened, watching stuff on YouTube about it. I remember watching his original channel before it got taken down. After I'd heard about it, I'd watched that like Shy Guys or whatever the fuck documentary that was. This is basically like proto black pill shit, right? Which I've said before, regardless of the community around it, I still think if Elliot Rodger had been black pilled, he wouldn't have killed nobody. He would have. I just think it's that, right? Like the people itself, better or worse, being exposed to those the truths that they will admit. At least it's bittersweet. At least guys know that it's not their fault, right? But I mean, it's like there's nothing you can do about it. But um, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but when I made that video, it's like, oh, if somebody went to split rent or hotel room or whatever, that'd be cool if I can find it. If I can't find it on YouTube, I'll look on Craigslist. I'll post on dating apps even. That's how I found some places I've lived in. Even with those dudes, even though I met them on a gay app and they were gay too, it wasn't a sex thing, right? So like I said, I'm not looking for any weird shit. I'm literally just looking for. I mean, if I could find like some cute twink to like be boyfriends with and just fuck him and get my dick sucked by him every day, and then we're also living together and splitting the rent. I mean, that obviously that would be ideal, but That's not going to happen. All right. Black pillars already know I was a virgin until 25. I had a little bit of success. Channels I found originally that led me to the black pill, like BSM and VVS, which VVS is evil. If I knew some of the shit he said back then, I wouldn't have watched him. But um, BSM is what kind of really got me in. I saw a bit of Oreo Man too, but those guys like Oreo Man probably more accurately fits the TFL thing, right? Or hold on, let me. Oreo Man was like in the TFL stuff. Now BSM was labeling himself black pill or incel and all that, and even he wasn't sure if he counted. I remember that from like his earlier videos because I started, and I even think that the reason I found his channel in the first place is because I was looking for hip hop stuff. Because I remember watching some of his his like music stuff before I remember uh, watching his actual rants. But BSM was similar. Everybody's got their channel, right? It's like for some people it's Oreo Man, for some it's Grotti, for some for like some like me it was BSM. Everybody had their way in, right? And that's sort of like their original channel or whatever. But BSM was like a similar situation to me. He had his bit of success, but now he can't get nothing, right? So, and the only reason I started making videos was because in late 2019 I was commenting on some videos like that, and somebody made a comment to me saying, like you got to figure it out or whatever. You should make videos, this and that. Now, up to that point, I just did. I mean, I ranted about shit like that all the time, right? Not like back when I was Natty Fatty powerlifting, not Natty Fatty, not XA Dominus, not Omni Obstat, like OG Natty Fatty powerlifting. It's just I never had any tags to put to it, and I made videos like that for years. So I started making them because of that comment and labeling them black pill, right? But I was misled. I thought I would count as an incel because I mean that's what BSM put, and he had a similar experience. And I'd read about the Donahue study or whatever it was, and how they defined it. And if somebody had told me, no, it's just incel means virgin, even though the term refers to involuntary celibacy, as in I haven't had my dick touched in you know uh, you know over 3 years now. I had my little stretch. Like once I hit 25, I had a few years where I could get something occasionally, and then over time, slowly, it just got worse and worse. And now I'll probably, who knows, maybe never have sex again, and I won't pay for it, right? But I mean, even though everybody's favorite black pillars have gotten laid before, probably got laid more recently than me, and this and that, and so again, that proved my point with that. It's not actually about anything really. It's just about do they like a person. But okay, let me really try to steer this back. I don't really think anybody, because I never get help when I need it. I never got it back then. I won't get it now. All right, like I was looking on when I was in St. Louis, I got nothing off Craigslist looking for a room for rent. And then now when I'm 12 hours away or something, now I get emails, hey, I got a room $250 a month. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let me drive 12 hours to look at a room that might not even actually be there, that they might not even let me have, whatever. Yeah. Just throw, 300, 400 fucking dollars down the drain on gas, and then, double that just to, go somewhere else or come back here or whatever. Yeah. Let me do that. But the main reason that it was tentative is because when I got here, I only paid for a night because I went to see if it was still decent like it was. And then I already made the video. So I saw a cockroach, and then, earlier this morning, one got, I don't know if it was just one or if that's just the only one that came out. But I haven't seen anything since then yet. But I'd already paid for another night. That's why I'm still here. and I'm going to keep an eye on things here in a little while. I'm going to, clear this table off, get my other computer parts out of the car, and put it together, the new one I'm building. It's the main reason I haven't uploaded a whole lot or had many, like, things that, like videos up. But that was the main reason. It's like I might not be here that long. Who knows? Depends what happens with the hotel. But if I try to get a week, I think if today is all right, I might see about trying to get a week. Um, and then if that goes all right, maybe try to get a month. Then, and that's going to cost me more money. But like the way this chain of hotels work, extended stay, you have like the base price, which is like the monthly or the nightly rate. So like here right now, I'm paying $130 a night. But the weekly rate, so if you get 7 days or more, then it's like 55 or a 45% discount. And then if you get 30 days or more, you get a 55% discount. And then if you book it through their site, like make an account and book it with the account, I think it gets you to like 60% discount. So off the nightly rate, if I was just going to stay on the nightly rate, I mean, I'd be paying over double. And here's the kicker for this one in particular. With the absolute best rate I could get, right? 30 plus, a 30-day stay with a registered account to get the max discount would still be like a bit over $2,000 a month. Now, when I was staying in St. Louis in 2019, the first time, back then they did a deal where you get, if you got 60 days or more, there was even a further discount. I know it for a fact because I had to agree to 2 months, and it ended up only being like 1,000 a month, like 1,040 or something like that. So even with the max discount here, it's double, and then the nightly rates over double on top of that, right? Now, when I was here in 2019, I stayed for a week. It cost me $700. So that would have been $2,800 for a month off the weekly price. But now, the monthly price would be, 2,000 something, and off the nightly price it'd be like 3,800 or 3,900. So it's doubled, right? But if the room were decent enough and I were going to stay here long term, ideally I would have liked to have somebody to split it with, and that's why I said I was willing to reach out to the blackpillers, because their situation would be closer to mine. They'd be more willing to need that, and that could be an opportunity for them as well. And it's like I said, I want to work towards a common goal. If we have to do that, I prefer to have somebody around that we can talk and sort of be friendly. But if we could otherwise, if we had to, it's like literally it's just like you're looking the other way, I'm looking this way, and we just to the best extent had to just act like each other's not there. I'd even be willing to try that because I got like a higher goal in mind, but that none of that would matter if I weren't going to stay here. Like if roaches just start pouring out like that piece of shit Northwest Airport Inn in St. Louis. It's technically St. Anne, Missouri, but it's called Airport Inn because it's like right next to the St. Louis airport. And if you go look it up on Google, Northwest Airport in St. Louis, Missouri, and you click on the street view, at least on desktop, I don't know about mobile, where it starts you looking at it, that's literally right there where the entrance where I'd go in is whenever I'd get to leave or come back, right? There's two like little barns next to it. I think they were using those as like bike sheds or something. But I'd go in there, go up the stairs, and like where it starts you out on street view, the third floor, that left set of windows, that was my room. There was those windows there, and then there was a set of windows on the other, Or there wasn't another set of windows. No, it was just those set, right? But that was my room. You look straight at it. You know, that place was disgusting, filled with roaches, and it's like if this place, if you see one, you know, occasionally next to the sink or something, that don't bother me, especially if it's like a small or like sort of medium sized one. But this place was filled. It was disgusting. I mean, they were crawling all over the fucking ceiling. It's like I'd wake up in the bed and right above me they'd be fucking going around, crawling in my fucking shoes and just all over everything. It was awful. But that was $1,000 a month plus 200 deposit. Now imagine that. Imagine if I had booked this in advance and paid them, over $2,000, and then I show up and it was that condition, right? Now, a lot of people, what I saw alone would be enough for them to be like, oh, hell no, but I don't care. As long as they're not all over the place, if I maybe see one next to the sink, whatever. Especially like the Studio 6, but that was the Studio 6 I stayed at. It was impeccable when I was there in 2018. The one in Indianapolis. I made videos on that. But then I get there this time and it had a big ass one. I wouldn't say it was giant. That might have been an overstatement, but I only ever saw that one. So even that was like, all right, whatever. But I just, the big ones, when they get big enough, you can see their antennas and shit. That's disgusting. Well, by my standard of my shitty eyesight, I'm technically supposed to wear glasses. But if they get big enough where I can see that, like, from a distance, that's disgusting. But if they're little, that don't really bother me as much as far as the grossness factor. But yeah, imagine that. What if I had done that here? What if that would have been the case? But that case, I don't, I'd went in, I'd slept for a couple hours. I would have slept longer, but the security woke me up because nobody told them that I'd rented the room, and they're like, why is this door locked? But after I showed them their shit, the shit they needed to see, as usual, couldn't get back to sleep. So within a couple hours of being awake, like when I first, within a couple hours, it's like, oh, I see some little tiny speck on the ground. Could have been an ant or something. I was like, oh, whatever, step on it. You see another one, it's like, all right, it's like the place I stayed in Seattle, it had ants, little piss ants, Sometimes that happens, especially if you're at ground level. But then I started to see bigger, right? And then you'd see the little ones, then like the medium ones, and then you'd occasionally see the big ones. And it got to like within a few hours, they were all over the place. I don't know how they make them go away long enough for you to rent the room and then they're there, right? But the standards of this is mild, right? Like, I mean, I can deal with lots of shit, dude. I mean, I don't care about bed bugs. Don't care. Um, but I mean, hair on the sheets, dried blood on the sheets, dried piss, whatever, like shit like that. It's like, all right, whatever, I'll deal with it. And I mean, other than that one little thing, the room's fine, you know. But when I was staying here in 2019, it might have been that way there too, and I just never noticed it because this table is like against this like little part here, and it's like like this. But from where I'm sitting, the room I had at the time, like long ways, was facing this way, like this, and I had the chair on the side closest to the kitchen, looking that way towards the window, right, and I had my computer set up, on the side of it that was sort of nearest the bed. It's just I put my computer there. I was sitting on the kitchen side of it, so I might not have seen it if there had been one, in the room there, and if it was in the same area, I might not have seen it because I was never looking that way. Like here, it's like it's right there. So I can't say for sure, but that sort of my point was like I wouldn't expect somebody to want to like even if they wanted to, try to help each other out, I wouldn't expect somebody to want to stay in a place like this, right? I would, because I don't necessarily have another choice, right? Now, there's other hotels like this in a similar like area or whatever around Atlanta, maybe 15, 20 minutes away from downtown. Um, like there's one in Marietta, there's one in Dunwoody. Dunwoody would actually be closer to the Anytime Fitness I'd have to go to now, because the one I went to downtown when I was here back in 2019 has been closed down for at least a year or two. You can still find it on Google Maps if you look up, Anytime Fitness Peachtree Street or whatever. But those are like really more in my price range. They would have been at their monthly rate maybe like 1800. But how do you know if you went to them that they wouldn't be the ones filled with roaches? And it's like, that's the issue here. It's like, okay, well, if this room was nice, okay, I'll take a week or a month, whatever it was. Well, how do I know they wouldn't be like, well, that room's already booked for this or that day, we'd have to put you in another room to get the week or whatever? And how do I know that's not the one they put me in wouldn't be the one filled with roaches, right? And that was the thing. So I will be in Maryland at some point, but I was looking at the Baltimore area, and I don't know where this guy is in Baltimore that made the comment on that other video that I'm making this video because of. I don't know if he's in or near Baltimore. But that's the area I'd be looking at. But that's like even worse, right? So picture this, because I was looking at hotels in Baltimore, or like the Baltimore area. So imagine you pay $300 fucking dollars a night, and then you get a room filled with roaches, with AC doesn't work, the hallways are dripping water into buckets, and then there's not even free parking. There's not even parking there. You got to pay for someone else to take your car and go park it somewhere else in a fucking parking garage. That's ridiculous, right? So if I were in Baltimore, I wouldn't stay in directly downtown. I would be, kind of, similar thing, like within proximity, or you could think of it, like the greater, like metropolitan area, or however the fuck they call it, right? Close enough to be close enough so I could interact with people from the city, but cheap enough to where it's at least more affordable, right? But Baltimore is not on my list for the time being. I'm probably going to be here for a little while. And I'm not sure when I'd be in Baltimore, or, that general area of Maryland. But like I said, if I'm where anybody's at, I'm serious. Even if you don't like me, even if I don't like you, you want to meet up, you want to talk, whatever. You want to give me an apology, that's even better, right? Or if you want to, you just tell me why you don't like me. But obviously, I would prefer affable interactions. But I mean, that applies to everybody. I just mentioned that I'd be willing to meet blackpillers if I were in their area, because I know there's a lot of them in Atlanta. Like I said, one of them I had talked to personally, even him. I'd be willing to forgive you if you apologize, and you're still trying to find a better way, and whatever. It's just, life is, with this kind of shit, 1+1=3. I'm so good with money, but it doesn't matter how good you are with money if you're always losing money, because there's not physically a way for you to save it, right? Well, it's like if I got somebody, we're split in half on a hotel room or whatever, that opens up opportunities for both of us, right? Especially if we both have a vehicle, right? We could carpool, but there's always also a vehicle there if we need it, right? So pull resources together, and there's just so many ways that makes life so much better. But nobody wants to cooperate with me. That's the thing, right? They want help, as in they want me to give them shit. They want me to do shit for them, but they don't want it to benefit me in any way. right? So most of these black pillars, I don't give a fuck what happens to them. Fuck them. All right. And there's a guy in Baltimore right now that when we were on speaking terms, I offered to help him when he was in a different city. He said no. He'd rather take the hard way and go, to a more expensive place and then have to pay to live with somebody that, does this and that and all this shit and then make videos bitching about it. And then talk about how he's suicidal and then his plan for suicide was copying what I had said my plan was in 2019. Right? See what I mean? So most motherfuckers on this earth are really choosing their life. It really is all their fault. Why would you reject help? Right? I mean, I've been in situations where, it's like when I was in, St. Louis, right? I'd walk to the Walmart there, near that shitty hotel I was living in, get some groceries, whenever I get paid and go back. And one time this guy pulled up, he's like, "Hey man, you need a ride?" Because he saw me carrying all these bags. And I said no, right? But that was different. Why did I say that? Because I never met, I never even talked to him to the level of some other dude on YouTube. That's the thing. I've never seen this person before. How do I know when I get in the fucking car, he ain't going to try to stab me, rob me, he could fucking, anything, right? I mean, I had protection, but you're sitting right next to somebody like that. You're not necessarily going to get there in time, right? They could get you before you can react. It's just too dangerous. So I would understand on that level if I was just some random dude that walked up to you. But that guy in particular, he watched me for at least a year, commented on my videos and all this other shit, wanted to do interviews and all this shit. But the moment I want to try to help him in a way that also helps me, not I want to benefit at his expense, not none of that. It's, well, you need help, I need help, let's try to work together. They say no. While they want to believe all this evil, bigoted shit and then act like they're not getting what they deserve. That's what's so hilarious about it. But that's really how most people are, right? Now, again, the guy that I just made that story about isn't the guy that commented. I'm not saying that about him. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just ranting. Um, but whatever route I take, I might just go up to Columbus, Ohio, and then like cut across through like uh like the middle of upstate New York, and just go straight across to Hartford, Connecticut, and then from there maybe touch New York City, and at that point maybe try Baltimore or whatever. But I don't care to go back to Massachusetts. Um, but if I went to Ohio, I could show the different places I was at, right? Like I had an apartment in, I mean, again, maybe 15, 20 minutes from downtown, but I had a place, right? I was on a razor thin margin. I was getting like the max food stamps they gave in Columbus at the time, at least. But I was doing okay, and I thought I had a reason for it, right? My first ex. And I'm going to tell this story. It's going to lead to a point I'm going to make. And then I'm probably going to end the video. This one, I'm sure this one's going to be even longer because I don't remember exactly what I said the first fucking time. But so because of him, the area I was living, my apartment was in wasn't that bad. But because of him being a junkie, we spent most of our times in the bottoms, and that's what they call it in Columbus. It's Franklinton. All right, I saw I mentioned something about the size of the video, so I think when I saw it, it had cut off right just then. And it said something about the size, so it had some like 4 gig limit. I've been talking for a while, and the video's bigger file size than I was hoping, but whatever. I'm going to compress it here in a bit. So I'm just going to complete the thought. And if it fucked up this time, I'm not doing this again. But so let me restate it. Because of my first ex, we spent a lot of times in the bottoms, and that's what they call it in Columbus. It's Franklinton, and it's like the ghetto part of Columbus, or at least one of them. So I spent a lot of time around drug dealers and different bullshit like this, and so what I'm going to get to now, like I just like in 2019 I had a death wish. Like I was just hoping I'd end up dying, or like I wasn't. At one point I wanted to kill myself, but it just became no, just I want to die, but I'm not going to make it happen. Let's put myself in a situation where it could happen, right? Um, Now I didn't feel this way then. I was really looking up to the stars. I was so happy to have a boyfriend and blah blah blah. Um, but like when I was, I mean that he put me through hell, and this is why like there's a couple dudes in Baltimore that don't like me, and they want to ham it up like I live in this part, all these shoot, but it's like if you actually look into it, it's like they're in the safer parts. It might not be amazing, but it's safer. But they're trying to, it's like I'm not impressed by somebody being from the ghetto, right? Like I've like different places I've lived, I've driven to the ghetto to pick up, you know, dudes they have sex with before, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm in a rough part of town." Is that okay? I don't give a shit. I've been homeless in places like that, right? I've been homeless in Stockton, California. That's like what Compton is now. Um, Now the part of St. Louis I was in, technically it's St. Anne, Missouri, is where I was there most, right? But it wasn't like an amazing. One of my coworkers was a junkie at one job. One at the other job, he was like been in and out of jail a lot. I don't know for sure, but I mean, I've lived places like jobs I had. It's like dudes there that they'd been to prison, right? And it's like those people are everywhere. It's not impressing me, right? It's like even especially now that I'm in Atlanta, dude, I see tons of black dudes on like Tinder, gay dudes, right? So they're gay, but it's like black dudes on like here, and it's like they got their gun and they're going like what I'm talking about, pointing at the fucking screen and their pictures and shit. And one of them, their profile says some shit like "try me" and blah blah blah, and it's like point his gun at the screen. I'm like, I've had people point guns at me in real life, right? Like I'm not like I was playing a video game a few years back. This guy that made the comment about him being in Maryland. I'm just going to say Grim because that's what he said his name was, so I don't have to keep re explaining that. But um, he was probably watching me back when I did make this story. I was playing a game online, and this dude wanted to start threatening to shoot me because he had told me there was no such thing as medical grade cocaine, and I said, yeah, there is, and he's like, no, and I was like, there's two different brands of literal medical grade cocaine, literally sold to hospitals. He didn't like that. So it snowballed into the point where he's like, oh yeah, you come see me, here's my address, I got all these guns and blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, I'm not impressed. He's, oh yeah, you sound like a bitch, I can hear it in your voice, and like all this lame shit. It's like, dude, I don't care. When I was with my first ex, to get back to that point, dude, he got kidnapped one time. All right, there was this one guy, the second place we went to for the longest, and it was one where I'd uploaded a video because some re-upload channel re-uploaded a video of me where I'd mentioned it, and then I told them I was going to re-upload the video I was talking about where I'd made a level for a video game that was basically a recreation of that place. It wasn't exact. I took artistic liberties, obviously, right? Like there wasn't a tunnel in the basement or anything, but it was this condo where there was like this, black dude, who I don't know if he was fresh out, but he had absolutely been to prison at some point. I don't think he'd been back out that long. Covered in tats, jacked. Um, and his girlfriend, he was pimping out on Backpage. My ex used Backpage. Like I said, yeah, I've heard of I've heard of Backpage. And back before it got shut down, I wish I had taken screenshots because I found after I was with him, I found like archives of like posts my ex had made. That first ex. I wish I had screenshot that stuff so I could show it. I saw pictures of him that he gave me and shit like that. I might show those at some point. I put his face in the thumbnail for one video over a different story that I'm not going to get into right now. But yeah. So I've never hormaxed, but I'm aware of Backpage, right? I mean, I guess that maybe I did in a way. I mean, I basically was some junkie prostitute's John for a month or two, you know. But what happened was this dude, he tried to stiff him for drugs, right? And he got kidnapped. And he calls me. He's like, "Oh, I'm in their car. I'm in their car. Come meet me that place." He wanted me to meet him at the bank because I just got a bank account there. And now I tried to make a withdrawal, a day or so before maybe. I hadn't had it that long, and I couldn't withdraw. I'm like, "Well, what's going on?" And I called them, and they said, "Well, because you just made your account, there's like a little period where you can't do the ATM yet. You'd have to come in to withdraw for right now." So I go to meet him at the bank, and he gets out, and then we come, we he comes to my car, I get out of my car, he walks over to me, and I tell him it's like, I can't get you any money. He's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, I can't withdraw from my card yet. They won't let me. I haven't had it long enough, whatever. Now, the dude had already given him the drugs because he's like, "Oh, yeah, Natty." And obviously, they didn't call me Natty Fatty, but, for my own privacy, Natty Fatty, he's going to give me the money, blah, blah, blah. But, and it was like the scene in the movies, right? It's like, here, take this. And he, like, passes it to me. It's like they do, like, the handshake thing to pass money and shit like that. And, like, the fucking movies and shit. This grim guy, if he's been watching me for as long as he said, he's heard this before because I've talked about it a lot. He's like, "Get back in the car. I'm gonna walk around to the side and like, pretend like I'm taking a piss or something, and then I'm gonna jump in and you just drive." I'm like, "Well, where am I gonna go?" He's like, "I don't care, just drive." So he hands it to me. I put it in my pocket. I sit in there, and then he comes around. He opens my door, and he's like, he actually sits there taking a piss. And the the drug dealer dude, he knows what's up, right? So he gets out of his car and he takes a beeline to my fucking car and he gets in my back seat right behind me. He's like, "Well, what's wrong with your boy?" And I'm like, "I don't know," and blah blah. And we sit here going back and forth. And now that my first ex has realized that this ain't gonna work. I mean, he just sits back down. "Oh, I just had to piss real quick, whatever." So I told him it's like, I can't get you any money tonight. He thought I had money, but I don't have any money right now. I can't get it till tomorrow. I'd have to go in. You know, can I just get you the money tomorrow? He's like, "No, man, I gotta get my money right now." Blah blah blah, this and that. So eventually, I'm like, "All right, all right." So I hand it back to him. And at first, I think he thought I was handing him the money because when he hands it to me, he's like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm like, "That's the drugs. I don't have any money. I can't pay you." And now, thankfully, he let it go. But I could have got fucking shot. I could have got killed, right? Because of this motherfucker who knew. We had talked for weeks before we ever met in real life. He knew what I'd been through in life. He knew how I felt. He knew what I was going through. And he would put me in those situations. So I've been there. I'm not impressed. Okay. I don't give a fuck if some dude's a thug or a drug dealer. Or he wants to do like this with his fucking gun and the fucking camera on his stupid gay dating app profile or whatever. I will absolutely go to Baltimore. I'm going to go to Chicago. I'm going to go to Detroit. There's a lot of cities like that I've never been to. And part of it for me will be like the travel vlog stuff, like hamming it up. Like you see these guys all driving through the most dangerous hoods, and like that shit's a joke to me because like I've been homeless in places like this. You know, people leave me alone for the most part because people like that don't have anybody to run to. You know, what are they going to do? Hey, I tried to rob this guy and he didn't let me. You know, like tell the police that. What are they going to say? Right. So it's paradoxical that I feel safer around actual dangerous people. You know, it's the good part of town where everybody's going to, run to their little social psychosis in whatever form it is to oppress you. All right. Somebody that's going to rob somebody, even if they got a gun, I'm not going to be their first choice. Even that one guy I used to talk to, which I don't now, unless he wants to apologize, but Brooklyn, talking about some dude got on the subway and like came over and sat down and put his fucking feet on him. And he moves his feet. He's like, what the fuck, right? And the guy puts him back. And then he like shows us like, you see this, don't do it again. So this punk has a gun and he's going to get on the subway looking to fuck with somebody. And like the gun's not enough for him. He has to go looking for what he thinks the weakest target. Now, if you think that guy got on the subway and was looking around and he saw me, you think I'd be his choice? So my appearance has caused me a lot of problems in life. But in some circumstances, it's also in a way helped. But the benefit don't outweigh the negatives. But I'm just making a point. I'm not worried about that. It doesn't impress me. I'm not afraid of it. I don't care. So I'll be all those places. I'll be in Philly too. Some different places, whatever. If I can manage. You know, as long as vehicle functions and I got at least some money, whatever, then I will visit these different places. And so this grim guy, if I'm in Maryland, and at least if you're somewhere in the Baltimore area where where I would likely be, at least 20, 30 minutes from downtown type, radius, then sure, that's on the table. Even these other ones, they want to talk shit and all this stuff. It's like, even if you want to meet, whether you want to try to apologize and work it out, or if you just want to tell me why you don't like, make sure to have reasons, make sure to have evidence, make sure to appeal to objective morality, not social bullshit of any kind, even if it's social on the level of what delusional blackpillers think. And I'm open to that, and we can have that discussion, and I mean that in a serious way, not euphemistically. Because people tell me that, oh, I want all that smoke. It's like, dude, you don't even want to have a conversation. You can't even admit when you do wrong. And it's hilarious when people are going to talk shit like that and they don't even show their face. You motherfuckers know what I look like. A lot of people that don't like me, I don't know what they look like. So if I went to Baltimore, one of these guys that they don't like me, but I've never seen their face, walk up and blow my head off. But that's it. They always want an advantage because they can't play fair. Just like the society they want to bitch about. But I don't care. Blow my fucking head off. You'd be doing me a fucking favor. I don't care about being ghettos or around black people or any of this other bullshit. That's all lameness, right? Been to the ghetto numerous times to fuck black dudes. You think I care? But to make it a point, I might not be staying downtown because it's just too expensive. And Baltimore is like $300 a night for Roach Motel. Fuck that. If I'm going to have a Roach Motel, I'll go somewhere where it's at least $100 a night. Something more reasonable. But I was, it's like, and yeah, I'm going to try to visit. I specifically want to go to Brooklyn and to an extent Harlem, because I'm a level designer, and I explained this in another video, but most of the games I like urban settings like that. And I mean, really, most ghettos look the same, but most stuff that I've made is either based off of like Brooklyn or like New York City type downtown stuff, you know, like condemned buildings or shit, or it's based off of video games that are based on it, right? So, Condemned Criminal Origins, that's the one I really love, especially because of the whole homeless aspect of it. I really like that. But it's, you can tell it's like based on like, in most games that have an environment like that, it's like Brooklyn and not 50-50, maybe like 30-40% also like Harlem, right? Like one of the levels in Condemned, you have to escape out of your apartment. You go down the, you know, fire escape, and you're in this alley that goes to this underground maintenance area that's like next to a train track, and it's like a trench, you know. And I'm pretty sure it's based off of that one in Harlem. It's like 125th or whatever. I'd love that shit. I'd love to go to New York City or downtown, any place, just for the pictures, take video references and all this stuff. And being there gives me the sense of scale. Because when you're making video game levels, it's not about the exact mathematical scale. It's about the feel, right? Not going to go too into it, but like if I was in, you know, New York City or whatever, or Atlanta or anywhere else, but like I hear these rappers, right? Like MLP has a song Annie Up, and one of the lines is "Fool what you want, your life or your jewels," and I'm like, I'll take my jewels, right? Because this life don't mean shit to me. Well, you want my shit that bad? You want to kill me? All right, doing me a favor. All right, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about living in a fucking evil world with no love in it. So, you know, yeah. Whenever I'm in Maryland, you know, you fucking, I'll say where I'm at, and you say, "Well, I'm nearby, this or that," and you know, maybe we can agree on a sort of general place to meet up. And that goes for anybody. Anybody wants to meet, whether you like me or you don't. I don't care. And I mean, I thought about, you know, if I went through upstate and I passed the Middletown exit like I did back in 2019, maybe try going there and see if I can find BSM. Probably not though, because I'm not going places specifically to try to meet people. I mean, if it happens, that's cool, but specifically, I'm going places where I've already been for now. But after Atlanta, and whether I hit up Birmingham and Shreveport first, at some point this year, I'm also going to visit places I haven't been. Maybe it'd be there. Maybe I'd go. Maybe I'd try that. Maybe I would. I don't know. I think if I were going to try that, I might try to comment to him and see if he'd be cool with that, or I don't know. Hypothetical. I don't expect it to happen. It'd be cool if it did, but you know, it's the same with anything else. But mostly, what I'm looking for, really, whether it's just a meet and greet, ideally, I'm looking for somebody that we fucking do this together, and try to, you know, if our lives can't get any better, at least make it easier to fucking even live in the first place. Like shit is ridiculous price now. I know you motherfuckers. You know, if you have to pay for your places to live, I know you don't want to pay as much as shit costs, right? So I would just like to have somebody to cooperate with. But yeah, I'm going to end this video. I don't even know if I said what I meant to say. Whatever. That this is how it always is. But yeah, that Grim guy or anybody else, like me or don't, if you want to meet up, if I'm ever in an area, that you know, I'll announce it when I'm there. If I'm going to be there for a while, like now in Atlanta, other places I just was there for a day or two, wasn't going to stay. But the plan is to be here for at least a little bit. So if I'm ever in that, you know, somewhere in that scenario, I'll say, hey, I'm here, and you want to meet, we can. But ideally, like I'm trying to find like a, you know, somebody to just try to fucking ride this shit out with, and just try to make life a little bit easier. You know, take the burden off each other to an extent, and just be like friends that are like roommates or whatever. That's the ideal. But you know, meet and greet, all right, whatever, that's cool. I don't care. I mean, I'll probably end up getting killed anyway, so who cares?